when things literally don't make sense and you know that you're a child of God and you're trusting in God to always take care of you, you're trusting in God to always, be right there to provide. But then when things go wrong, you begin to question, you begin to have that slightest doubt. But when you overcome that hump and you get to that point where nothing bothers you, you get that kind of faith where it doesn't matter what happens or what comes your way, you trust God no matter what. When it comes to that point, it's like, okay, God, this happened. I guess it serves a purpose. I guess it's in your will. So I just got to go with the flow, and I just got to see what's going to come out of this. So let me tell you a little bit about my testimony, what happened and why it happened. So one day I had to move all my stuff to California, and I didn't know who was going to help me. And I really honestly didn't want to ask family, because just the way like my family is, just because, the love that I have for God, and they try to say I'm a cult, they try to say I'm this and that, it's like I'm not even trying to be around that negative energy, but I had no choice. So I also don't like to be around people that always, nothing good comes out of their mouth. It's always a curse. And like, honestly, sometimes they don't even realize that they're cursing with their words. But anyways, everything happened the way it did for a reason. So let's get to the story. So I was moving my stuff to California, and I had my mom help me. So her and her husband, helped me, and her husband drove the U-Haul truck. I drove my work van. My sister was with my mom in her car. So see, like at the time, it doesn't make sense why, all this happens, right? So we're getting ready to pass the borderline to California, but we're still in Arizona. It's 112 degrees, and the work van just decides to just shut down. So I pull over to the side of the road. My mom pulls over. She calls me and she asks me like, what's going on? And I told her, I don't know, Mom. The van just broke down. So she calls her husband, and he stops, and he crosses over, to come to attend with us or whatever. And he tells my mom, like, all the fluids are, coming out. That means her engine is out. And so it doesn't make sense to me why it happened, because I'm like, God, we're in 112 degrees, and but then I was like, no, I can't even have not even a slightest doubt. I have to trust God. So I gave it to God. I said, let me just take the dogs out, give them some water. So I get the dogs off, I give them some water, and right away, the first thing that wants to come out of my mom's mouth is just something, negative. And I'm just like praying silently, like canceling everything she's saying, right? And she doesn't even know this, but I'm canceling everything she's saying, and I'm just giving it to God, right, as I'm letting the dogs out. Then I told the Lord, I said, Lord, I give this to you. You show me what to do, and I'm willing to do whatever I have to do, So a sheriff pulls up, and he's like, is everything okay? I'm like, oh yeah. He's like, well, it's really hot out here. It's 112 degrees. Are you sure? I was like, yeah, the van just leaked fluid or whatever. He's like, well, do you have a plan? I said, the Lord does. He goes, oh, okay. And so I said, we'll be fine though, officer. I'm grateful that you stopped to check on us. That was very kind of you. I'm just going to let the dogs out, and we'll figure things out afterwards. So the officer leaves, and I let the dogs back in, and my mom's like, oh, what are you going to do? She said that her husband said that, all the fluids leak out. That means the engine's done. I said, well, that may be what it looks like, but God has another plan. God's got me, Mom. We're not going to worry. God's got me. And so I began to tell the Holy Spirit, perform a miracle, do something, cause something to happen to show them that you're with me, So the Holy Spirit tells me to grab the rest of the water that I had left from the dogs. It was not that much, and he tells me to pour it, over the van and open up the hood, right? So I did. And he said that the water basically would be anointed, it would be holy, right? So I obeyed him. I said, well, they looked at me like I was crazy, because I was like, well, God told me to pour this in there and the van would start. So I did, and then I waited a little bit, and then I had a plan for myself, right? Because I just wanted them to see that my plan wasn't going to work, but God's plan would. Because I already knew God was going to do something, you know, because He knew that they were in disbelief, right? He knew that, like, He needed to do something. He needed to show them that He was God, right? So I contacted the tow company, and they told me that I have to put a down payment because it was going to cost $1,000, right? So I put $400 and some down, right, for them to start sending a tow truck out to me, right? It was going to take maybe 45 minutes for them to get there, right? So I paid it, and I told my mom, well, God has a plan, and my plan's not going to work, watch. So sure enough, after I got off the phone with the tow truck company, I went to go start the van, and the van started. I smiled at them, and after I smiled at them, you know, I was like, I'll see you guys at the rest stop. And my mom calls me on the phone. She's like, don't turn the van off when you get to the rest stop. I'm like, Mom, there's no way that all these fluids just poured out like that, and that this van started again. If it wasn't God, this was God. So I don't need to worry. I don't need to panic. I don't need to worry about turning the van off or anything, because if He fixed it, I don't need to worry about that. So I get to the rest stop, I turn off the van, but as soon as I pull up to the rest stop, there's a bowl engraved in the ground with a water spigot to give my dogs water. Wow, glory be to God. Glory be to God. It is not by my power. It is not because of me. It is because who He is. And it didn't make sense to me, but I knew that I had to go with the flow to see why God was allowing this to happen, right? Because He had to show them that He is God, and that everything that I was saying was true, and that they would see. And my mom's husband told her, God's angels are with your daughter. He's definitely with your daughter. Because this ain't the first time that they seen something happen in my life, but they had to witness that, right? And mind you, I don't really have that bond or that close relationship with my family at all. I've always been away since I was 15 years old. So like, they don't really know my walk with God. They don't know anything. And when I am around them, like, I love my family, don't get me wrong, but like, they don't realize how they talk. It's negative, it's not positive. And a lot of the times they're not speaking life, they're speaking death. So I have to be a prime example around them by my actions, so that they can see, and they can see how God moves, right? So to end this video, I just want to encourage you all that sometimes things happen and they don't make sense. But if you stand in faith, being around others that are like that are in disbelief, but you know you're a child of God, your best performance is to trust in God, no matter how ugly the situation is. Pray to Him, talk to Him, tell Him, God, I need a miracle right now. Do it in front of them. Do it in front of them that are in disbelief. Do it in front of them that are living in sin, so that they may glorify the Father in heaven, so that they may also turn to you, because they see what you're doing in my life. And you will see how God moves, because sometimes God allows things to happen just to bring people closer to Him, right? It's not about us. It's about what God is trying to do through us, right? We're just a vessel. We're just on assignment. We're just here for His purposes. We're not of this world. We're just in this world to do what He has called us to do.